Welcome to Our Spain Poco A Poco. Hi, Gaetano. How is your day going?
It's going bueno. We have the heat of the Valencian summer laying down upon us. So we
Oh,
are
we
we are
sure do.
inside we are inside our house with the blackout blinds, whatever shutters mostly
Mm-hmm.
closed. We've got the air conditioning on. We've got peppermint water in the refrigerator. So
Well,
we're
aren't you
doing all that we
fancy?
can. Yeah, we are fancy. We're
Yeah,
so fancy that
it is
today we're going to
hot.
talk.
I was very excited to have a terrace, but it is the surface of the sun, let me tell you. It is morning, early morning, late evening situation. It is not a daytime situation at this time of year at all.
I will. To go on a tangent, but to agree with you, when I got this apartment with the big patio in the back and the balcony up front, I'm like, I'm going to be out there all the time. It is too cold in the winter and too hot in the summer, and so for the
Absolutely.
3 weeks of the year, I'm busy doing something else. So they
Yeah.
never get utilized.
We have like maybe a month, 2 weeks, and 2 weeks on either side of summer where you're like, oh my God, this is perfect. Which I honestly
Right.
thought would be like the weather here all year round, but it's not. But that's okay. What are we talking about today? We were not coming here to talk about the weather.
Well, since you accused me of being fancy, how about we do something, artistic and talk
Ooh.
about Senor Pablo Picasso?
Otherwise known as, I don't know if you knew this, Pablo Diego Jose Francisco de Paula Juan No Pumuenzo Maria de los Remedios Cipriano de la Santísima Trinidad Ruiz y Picasso.
Okay, this is only a Poco a Poco episode, so we just used up half of it with his name.
We
So
did.
see you next week, people.
That's it. We were just here to tell you his name because I think it's such a great one. I love it. I'm sure I like butchered like at least 80% of that, but it's a great name. Come on. Who doesn't want a
I
name
mean,
that
I know
long?
Spaniards are known for having long names, but I don't think I've ever seen one that long. And I
No.
mean, how do you even write that on a birth certificate? We'll have to find some genealogist, Spanish expert to tell us how this all went down
Their
in
birth
history,
certificates
right?
must be really long. And I will say, I do think the birth certificate may be the only place that you would find that name. I think he had a birth certificate and then like a communion certificate that you have. And I think the longest one is on one of those. And that is literally, I'm sure, the only place that is
Right,
written
right.
ever. Yeah. Anyway, he was born in Spain, obviously, in Malaga, 25th of October, 1881.
Right, and he lived a long life. Lived until 1973,
Yeah, he was
and he
91, right? I think. Is that
91.
right?
Yes,
91. Yeah, I'm going to do
yeah.
my math in my brain. I can't do that.
And he grew up in an artistic household. His father was actually an art teacher and a curator at a museum in Malaga. So it's in his blood. Art's in his
Yeah,
blood.
and his father was an artist, I think, of as or wanted to be an artist. Obviously,
Hmm.
never raised to Picasso's level, but I think that was something that he wanted. And he had two younger sisters, Lola and Conchita.
Correct. And his father did see the genius in Picasso at an early age and supported his artistic endeavors, as
Yes,
it
he
were.
did. Yeah, and
And
actually, at the age of 8 was when Picasso, the most his earliest famous painting that we have, which is what they say after a bullfight that he went to with his dad. He did a painting which was the Yellow Picador in 1889, and that was his first oil painting at the age of 8,
wow.
which might seem crazy, but that is what people were painting with back then. So it also, if
Right.
you're gonna paint, you're probably painting in oil, right? Like you didn't have all
Right.
the things necessarily. So he never parted with that painting, and it is now in the Guggenheim, but it is still in the estate of it is in his estate
It's
still.
on
So
loan. It's on loan to
it's
the
on
Guggenheim.
loan, exactly. And
And side note, my dream is to always have a piece of art that says unknown from.
but you don't have to paint it, right? You just want to own
No,
it
no.
and
I,
give
I
it.
just want to
Okay.
own it and then lend it to a museum, and so my kids
Okay.
can walk by and say, "This is unknown from our house."
Right. Well, we'll get into it later, but I don't think that you wanted to be a kid of Picasso. But we'll delve into that a little bit
No, no.
later. In his yeah, go ahead.
The family did leave Malaga because the economy was changing, so he didn't spend much time there. The economy, there was a blight, as one would say, with the local vineyards, and the
Yeah.
museum closed. His dad lost his job and found a job up north in La Coruña, which is in Galicia.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Northwest Yep, northwest tip of Spain. Like, so really about as far away as you could get from Malaga, in Spain.
Right.
I mean, literally the far, and Spain is huge, but the far corner, basically.
Right, right.
Completely different area, different language, different everything, I'm sure, and especially back then. But he did get a job, which was, I'm sure, amazing. So they went and lived up there for a few years.
For a few years, and they had a tragic. There was a reason why they only lived there for years. Is his younger sister Conchita died,
Yes.
and that was very tragic for the whole family. And while she was sick, Picasso had made a deal with God that if his sister would live, he would give up art. He would sacrifice his art for his sister's life. And
Yeah, and
unfortunately,
he was just 14. He was just 14 at that stage. So
that's pretty harsh. I mean, and also, if you think of a 14-year-old to think of that kind of sacrifice, there is something so Spanish about that, right? There's something so Latin passion about that. But unfortunately, she did die of diphtheria, and he then had like a lifelong guilt of that. He then took it, I would assume, that he took it into as, well, now God wants me to do art. So now he had this like guilt behind his art that I'm now forced to do it because my sister died.
So basically, obviously this was something that haunted him for his whole life, like you said, but the whole family was having this, experiencing this tragic loss. So they decided at that point to just move and live somewhere else. And they moved to Barcelona in 1895. And, this is where, it's him and his one sister and their family. And the one sister became his main model. So at just 15 years old, he's painting her in one of his first massive masterpieces, the First Communion. So his sister becomes a bit of a muse, and
right. And this is where he's growing up, right? This is where he's really becoming his own artist, right? His independence, and he's hanging out at the very famous now El Cote Gat Cafe. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know,
sure.
but I know it's on all the tourist books. It's in every Lonely Planet guidebook that the cafe's still there. You can go there.
Yes.
But also during this time is when his best friend had committed suicide. So this brought him into his very famous blue period. I mean, everyone's heard Picasso's blue period.
Yes.
And this is where it happened. This is where it started.
And this is why. A lot of loss for someone of a young age, I think, at that point.
Right.
As well. And so he lived in Barcelona from 1895 to 1904. And then he actually moved to France, and that's where he lived until he died. So 1904 to 1973, he was living in France. However, a lot was going on in Spain during that period, right?
Right.
So while he was in France, he had a little sort of political painting that he created, which was the Guernica. And this was because during the Spanish Civil War, and his heart was still in Spain, and he was watching this going on, and the Nazi planes bombed this Basque town of Guernica. And so he channeled his fury through this monumental protest mural, which is huge. It's 3.5 meters by 7.8 meters, and it's actually on a canvas. So I'm debating whether this is really a mural, but let's just call it a mural because that's what everyone's calling it.
I love how you started out the conversation by saying he has this little piece. It's not little.
This little piece, yeah, it's a little piece. Probably the largest of his pieces.
And one of his big masterpieces that people travel.
Exactly.
They make pilgrimages to the Reina Sofia in Madrid to see this.
Exactly. It's a little piece, okay? It's tiny.
It's a little piece.
It was painted in France, though, even though it resides in Madrid.
In Madrid, right. So he didn't spend much time in Madrid, but there is a painting there. So, but then he does leave for France. Like we said, he spent the 69 years of his life there. And his blue period gave way to his rose period, which, the gloomy blues gave way to pinks and oranges, and a lot of circus. The circus world was very thematic in his pieces during this time.
Fun and colorful.
Fun and colorful, yes.
And then he moved to his African influence period, which is around 1907 to 1909.
Right, which is the angular lines and those shapes, which is which leads him into the Cubist period, which is 1909 to 1919.
Yeah, and he is renowned, as everybody might know, but in case you don't, of sort of creating cubism with Georges Braque, and they met in Paris, and they became absolutely like great close friends, like seeing each other every day because they were just, I think, incredibly impressed with each other. Essentially,
They were very much. They considered each other the only true equals in the world. So
yes, and as
take
Braque
with that
would say,
information as you want. But
well,
yes.
exactly. I had questions, and Braque would say like they were like mountain climbers roped together. So they were best buddies. They, initiated cubism, and their friendship only lasted a while, but till 1914 when Braque enlisted in the army, and that was basically the end of it.
Mm-hmm. And then he moved into his neoclassic period from 1919 to 1925, what critics called his return to order. He stopped all the cubist, the faces cut in half stuff, and started going back to the Renaissance and Greek mythology and Roman themes.
Right, and then of course comes surrealism in 1925 to 1945. He was not immune to that. So,
no,
now we're getting into subconscious imagery and figures twisted into monstrous emotional shapes and, that.
And all of that, yes.
and all of that.
And the war years, so that brings, his more of the political fury, not just the Spanish Civil War we talked about, but the world wars as they were happening.
Yeah.
And then his tranquil life, his celebrity life. He moved from Paris in 1946 down to the Mediterranean, which is where he then really enjoyed his celebrity and being wined and dined. And he became more experimental in his art. And he was doing pottery or ceramics and sculpture and reimagining of old masters that, it allowed him, his fame allowed him to be a freer artist, I think, right? He was.
Yeah, I mean, he also, even though he was famous for being obviously a painter and a sculptor, he did basic drawing, printmaking, book illustrations, ceramics, costume design for theatrical productions. I mean, he did a lot of other things. He wasn't just a painter and a sculptor. So let's give him credit for his vast array of creativity as well.
Well, speaking of his vast array of creativity, shall we talk about how he laid his genetic genetic strains around the world?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So he was not a good person. I'm just going to say that my take from his life is he is not necessarily someone I would want to have over for dinner, to not judge. You know what I mean?
And I definitely would not want to be married to him or be one of his children. But he did have 2 wives, multiple mistresses, 4 children, and several grandchildren. And it went something like this.
Yes, wife number 1, Olga Kaklova. I hope you pronounced that. My Russian is horrific, but she was a famous Russian ballerina. And they had 1 child, Pablo Picasso, and
which
2 grandchildren. And Pablito and Marina Picasso are the grandchildren.
But you got to have a mistress too. So Maria Teresa Walter, and he had a child with her, Maya Picasso, and another mistress, Françoise Gillotte, and she was apparently the only one who walked out on him. But they also had children. Yeah, they also had children. I'm sorry, it's Claude and Paloma Picasso. I'm sorry, I meant Paloma Picasso was the one you might have heard of, not of Paulo.
Right, yes, I didn't know Paulo, but Paloma.
No, but Paloma, yes,
FYI,
we all know her.
I do have a Paloma in my house, and that is where I got her name from.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
I grew up with a mother who was obsessed with Paloma Picasso jewelry, purses, and perfumes in the 80s.
Yes, me too, because we lived in the 80s and we had mothers.
Yes.
Oh my goodness!
That's funny.
Wife number 2, Jacqueline Roque, and he married when he was 79 and she was 34. I'm sure that was
nothing abnormal about that all.
No, but no children.
Well, that's good. And she acted as the aggressive gatekeeper of his estate, so she's the one that kept his legacy as we know it, right? Made the rules.
Made the rules and is probably deciding where his paintings are sitting and being displayed, I would imagine.
Now, do we want to get into the juicy tidbits, the mommy dearest of it all?
Oh, my gosh. Why not? So, although he was a creative genius, it does seem that he was a deeply toxic, cruel man, and he treated his family like, how do we say this politely? Property.
A possession,
could
yes. Property,
possession,
yes.
I guess. His granddaughter wrote a book, and that is called Picasso, My Grandfather, which sounds nice, but I don't think it is.
No, and I love it. And I mean, I have not read it, but the review I've read of it now makes me. I think I have found my summer read.
Yes,
And
I
so
want to
I
read
think
this
when
too.
when I say goodbye to you, I'm going to hunt this book down. But
Yeah,
she
it's
writes
by
about
Marina Picasso. In case anyone else wants to find it, Marina Picasso, titled Picasso, My Grandfather.
and she would how he treated her and her brother Pablito like beggars, and they'd have to stand outside his mansion gates for hours asking for money, and he would turn them away for his amusement. I mean, this guy was disgusting, and I mean,
Yeah,
he was a narcissist and cruel, as many of them
yeah.
are.
And he
um,
required a blood sacrifice of human suffering from his family. That cruel. So he was utilizing his family in not very nice ways to fuel his creativity. It
because
seems
it was
like.
for his art. Yes,
Of
it's all
course,
for art,
everything's for the
right?
art. Yes. And this created a lot of damage, obviously, which I think is obviously incredibly sad. The second wife, Jacqueline, banned Picasso's grandson, Pablito, and from attending the funeral. The 24-year-old Pablito drank a bottle of bleach and tragically died.
Oh,
And
just
also,
horrific.
yeah, and also his second wife, Jacqueline, also took her own life. So just a trail of misery coming across there. I think,
This kind of
which is really
reminds
sad.
me of another Poco Poco we did about Hemingway, and the tragic
Yes.
the tragic wake of Left Behind, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's very sad. All this, like, you have all this beautiful art and what you would think would be happening, and it's just obviously it's just not. But to liven things up, we can talk a little bit about just the different museums where you can find his art. Should we do that?
Yes, I mean, I think this is a great way if you wanted to tour Spain, and this could be your focal point, right? So you could start
Yeah.
with Malaga as where he was born. If you want to do a run through Spain, you could go up to Malaga, and there's two museums there: the Museo Picasso Malaga, and there's also the Museo Casa Natal de Picasso, which is his birthplace. So, and both of them have his
Right.
different works of art, but you can actually see the house he first grew up in.
Yeah, and then in Barcelona, you've got the Picasso Museum in Barcelona in the Gothic Quarter, and the sister Lola stayed in Barcelona and secretly protected thousands of Picasso's early sketches here, and later
Oh.
formed the backbone of this museum, which I think is really interesting. And I will say, this museum, in my opinion, is worth visiting because it has a lot of his earlier works and sketches where you actually see how talented he is as an artist, which not as an abstract artist, but as an actual, like, really he could draw.
He was honing his talents those early
He
years.
was, yeah.
Right.
And that for me, I was very young when I went there, and I was like, oh, he can draw. Like, he is actually somebody that knew how to draw, that then took that and changed it and created these abstract art, which I think is interesting to feel. Because sometimes when you look at Picasso and cubism, you think, well, I could do that, right?
Right,
But
right.
it does feel like that. I'm not saying I could, but it certainly feels like I could. But when you
Right.
see how well he can actually paint, you realize that it's actually coming from somewhere, of real talent that's then
Right.
turned into a different type
It's
of talent.
it's
just my little
derived
tidbit.
from years of training, not just an impulse.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
And as
So
we
I do love
said, you
that.
go to Madrid, and then there's the Reina Sofia Museum, which has got the Guernica painting mural masterpiece.
Yep. And then here in Valencia, slightly different. We have the National Ceramics Museum, which we talked about in the Valencia Museum, Poco A Poco. He had some pottery that he was creating later in life, and he donated 5 of his hand-painted ceramic plates to the museum.
Yes,
in
and they are part of the
1955.
permanent collection, which is very exciting.
So you may not have seen a lot of his ceramics, so that's a good place to see that.
So going back to Madrid really quick, we forgot this one. If you're in Madrid, an hour north of the city in Butrego de Lozoya is what's known as the Secret Barber Museum. And while he was in exile, he had a barber, and he would not pay him cash. He would pay him in paintings and ceramics and trinkets of his artistic endeavors. And this barber refused to sell them in his lifetime and instead donated to the town that he was from. And they have a museum with
And
all
I'm
that
sure
stuff
that's
in it.
bringing in a lot of tourists and money. So it's quite a thing to have all these Picasso drawings and just not sell them and turn them into a museum. I think that's kind of impressive. So also, if you go up into Bilbao, you have the Guggenheim, which has a rotation of his graphic prints. They had tried to get the Guernica there, obviously.
Not at the Guggenheim.
They wanted it near the town where it was about. They unfortunately failed, even though they had drawn up full architectural plans of how it was going to get done, and it ended up in Madrid. So, but you have other Picasso artwork up there, just not that one.
Right.
So that's a lot of different places. You can see him pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, and then go to
Spain.
France and see some stuff there. I mean, you can see his works around the world, but I'm surprised that we're nearing our 100th episode, and this is the first time we've brought up Picasso. So this has been fun.
This is surprising, actually. I was like, we haven't done Picasso. Can we double check, please?
Let me get to our assistants, please. Can you go through the tapes?
Exactly. So that is hopefully a slightly different side of Picasso that you didn't know, other than his paintings, and we hope you enjoyed it.
All right, till next time, Tanya.
Till next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Our Spain.
We really appreciate all the support we have received since we started this podcast.
Visit ourspain.com for transcripts to this and our other episodes, some exciting merchandise, and if you are so inclined, there is also a link to buy us a coffee, which helps support this fun endeavor.
And please follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Our Spain Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you're listening.
It really helps us stay connected, and we'd love to hear from you.
Let us know if there's any topics you would like for us to talk about. Even though we are happy to talk about anything, we also want to make sure it's informative for you.
Exactly.